I get it. For some that are listening, this might feel so weird to be like, what is she talking about? How is she like?
I warn people, I'm like, we're going to get weird in this episode, and I'm here for it. All right. Welcome back to the Soulful CEO Path podcast. This is the podcast for ambitious soul-led entrepreneurs who are building wildly abundant and aligned businesses that create ripple effects of positivity in the world. And I'm Kristin Constable. And today's episode, I can confidently say, is going to be like nothing else we have ever done on this show. Something that you may or may not know about me, depending on how long you've been in my world, is that yes, I am very strategic, but your girl is also 100% into the woo. And so today we're going to go on the woo side. And our guest, Maria Serbus, is a past life healer and channeler for soul-led CEOs. And just to kind of share how Maria and I got connected, it was a few weeks ago. We were at this in-person event and we all got to stand up in front of the group and share about who we are, what we do, and how we help people. And as soon as Maria started talking, she had me captivated. My ears perked up and I was like, I need some time with this woman. And so one of the days we ended up sitting next to each other. I wasn't like stalking you, Maria. I just happened to be like drawn into that space with you. And I just casually dropped, hey, like, do you mind going into the Akashic Records for me and seeing why this pattern keeps coming up in my life? And Maria's like, yeah, let's do it right now. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. And what you delivered, honestly, it rocked my world. It's one of those things that was just like this truth that only I can know, but it would just felt so true to me that I knew it was true. And it has radically shifted how I see this relationship that Maria was talking about in my life, but also this pattern that had been keeping me stuck for really long. So today I wanted to bring her into this space, into this conversation, so all of you could meet her and her work and really talk about this conversation that she so uniquely has a gift for. And she's like the real deal. Maria, I want to welcome you to the show. And yeah, I just thank you for being here.
Kristin, thank you so much for having me. And honestly, that you and I both know, just being at that in-person event, being around other women who can help mirror back your brilliance and just really be in it together. I mean, that was an amazing experience. But also, thank you for sharing that with me because I do love doing readings. And I think for me, because as you shared, so I'm a cosmic channeler, I channel using the Akashic Records, I'm a past life healer. And as you know, like even in the work that you do, and it's why your work is so important, but I'm sometimes so close to it that I'm just like, yeah, this is just like everyday life. Like
Mhm.
it's so easy for me to be like, well, yeah, like of course this pattern's coming up because of like this past life thing. And this person in your life is actually your blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
it feels just like another Tuesday for me. And I kind of forget, I forget how powerful having this information can be,
hmm
especially for soul-driven women, because oftentimes our businesses, yes, are an amazing part of our work, but we're also learning so many things through
hmm
relationships in our life, through patterns that are maybe coming up in relationships, in business, all of these different pieces. So I love helping women gain clarity, uncover the blocks, do the healing work. That is my jam. So I'm super excited to be here today. And thank you so much for having me.
Oh, this is going to be so fun. All right. So, for people that are like curious right now, but not in this work, let's start with, what are the Akashic records? Because, a lot of people hear this term, maybe you haven't, but, it's kind of a unique concept. So, let's talk about that just to create some foundation, and then we can go into how you use them to help soul led CEOs.
Amazing. So, yes, and I want to say too, I had never heard of the Akashic Records myself before 2023.
Okay.
And it was truly a soul remembering, like an awakening of my own. And I randomly had heard Akashic Records on an Instagram page or it popped up on my account or something. And then I went down a rabbit hole. I'm like, what is that? Ended up on someone's podcast. I mean, lo and behold, it was all these little synchronicities. And for some reason, my soul just leaned in and I kept listening to it.
Yeah.
And I landed on this woman who has like an Akashic Records certification.
Okay.
So it's like, what is it? The
hmm
Akashic Records is, think of it like an energetic blueprint that knows everything about you, your soul, forwards and backwards in time.
Okay.
So all of us have an Akashic records. Now, for those who I think a lot of women have maybe grown up and maybe you were raised in a family that practiced some type of religion,
Hmm.
Christian, whatnot. So if anybody's, in the Bible, they will refer to this as the book of records. So like
Okay.
different religions will actually speak of like the hall of records, the book of records, the book of life, the
Mm,
Akashic records. It's all actually tapping into that same energetic essence and blueprint.
right.
Now we're realizing that this isn't just something that like we can stumble into. It's actually something that we can use intentionally.
Yeah.
We can use this information to truly just unlock that next aligned step.
Okay, interesting. Okay, I remember it's bringing me back to the first time that I learned about the Akashic records. I was on a trip in India with my mom. My mom is Goan. So we were in India and me and my sister, I'm probably like 23 at the time. My sister's like 20. And we go into this it was like a reading, but we have no idea what it's about. And it's this kind of sketchy, like, place that we're going in, and it's this really old man there, and it was just, like, a very, like, authentic experience, but, like, kind of intense too because, we're not really sure what we're getting ourselves into. We kinda think it's like a tarot thing or something along these lines,
Yes.
and it was not. It was a completely different experience. So, like, for people who, like, might be trying to link it to other things that they know, like, say, tarot or say, like, I don't know, like a what not a fortune teller is the wrong word, but like a psychic, like
Yeah.
kind of thing. How does this fit in?
Yes, that's a great question. So a couple things to think about is different people can use different modalities or like mediums to connect to the other side, shall we say.
Mhm.
And so, for example, a tarot reading, not that I am trained in tarot, but simply put, it's really reading a message from spirit through the cards.
Mhm.
And so it could be a deck of tarot cards. It also could be like early on in my journey, I started getting like oracle decks,
Yeah.
where you can like have a deck where it just has little messages on it.
Yeah.
So you can receive a message from the other side, from spirit, from higher levels of consciousness through cards. For mediumship, specifically if someone's a psychic medium, they are also tapping into the cosmic field, but it is a little bit different. So when I go direct and tap into someone's Akashic records, I can channel a straightforward response because it's like I'm just talking to them, whatever
Okay.
guide is coming forward,
Yeah.
which can be a little different because some psychic medium readings, it's almost like it just depends what layer of the quantum realm, what layer of consciousness are you connecting to?
Right.
And oftentimes a medium might be like, "Well, I'm seeing a sign. They're showing me a belt. I'm hearing this song." So if you think about it, it's like, yes, they're getting pieces and clues and through
Yeah.
a lot of that or through a message that might come through, it's just a different way to get a message, but where the Akashic Records is a little bit different is I'm not guessing, I'm not trying to figure out, "What does this mean?"
Right.
We're just tapping into that higher level of consciousness and their guides or your guides, whoever I'm doing the reading for,
Yeah.
and so it feels really straightforward for me
Yeah.
because I'm not giving the answer, I'm just channeling it directly from your guides.
Yeah. And that's why when you share it, it's like with such a level of like certainty. And it's not, you do sometimes you go, it's like, does this mean anything to you? That's not how the experience was with you. It was like, this is what it is. And it's like, yeah, shit, that is what it is. It's like, it's kind of this like resonant knowing, which is really cool because you're going straight to the source, I guess, is what you're
Yes.
saying.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
and I will say, I think also you could get different Akashic Records readings from different readers could feel a little bit different. Everybody is, ultimately going directly to the Akashic if they're doing that type of reading. But I will say I'm a very visual person. And so a reading with me is usually, I mean, because I'm receiving through that clair of, so I think for you, I just remember, and not to give too much away, but it's like, I just remember, I think I created a bit of a visual for you, or like, it's
Yeah.
like brick and we need to change it to, something softer. And so they'll
Yeah.
often like share pictures with me so that I can convey concepts. And I love that because that's how my mind works. And I know a lot of other women who are very visual. So that helps
Yes.
you really anchor in the message.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. So now that we've kind of like got, I know it's like this is a big conversation. So it's like we're not going to get like all of the details, but it kind of gives us a bit of a foundation to, have this conversation around now, linking it into how you use the Akashic Records to support soul led CEOs in the clarity that they need to create big results in their life. Because one of the things that I love about your work is that you don't just use this work for healing, which I think a lot of people do. Of course, we have to heal in order to move forward, but then what? Right. And so I think for my audience, and definitely for me, it's like that's the orientation that I'm attracted to is like, I don't want to just be in this healing loop forever. It's like, it's in service of the big dreams that I have, this 3D world. Like, that is the purpose for me. So, tell us a little bit about that connection for because most of the people that are listening are business owners themselves.
Yes. Okay, and like you said, there is no technically avoiding, and I know many people know this. There's no avoiding around. We all did, like, our souls traveled to the planet Earth to do some healing. Like, that was part of the lessons. That was part of the, oh wow, I delivered myself XYZ experiences growing up. I become aware of those things that are maybe no longer serving me. And to heal it just simply means I get to upgrade my subconscious beliefs, or
Yeah.
I get to collapse an old timeline where my soul is continuing to loop and loop and loop. And it's like, oh, we can actually collapse that. We can heal that now.
Mhm.
So while I don't want to bypass the healing work because it's part of it, but I found so many people, if we're only staying there, what I found, because I also see past lives like a movie. And so
Mm,
past life is just part of my connection and one of my gifts and how I support soul led CEOs. And so when I was working with, for example, one of my clients this summer, we were doing some of the healing work, but then we also went back to a past life, a past timeline. And I get it. For some that are listening, this might feel so weird to be like, what is she talking about? How is she like,
I warn people, I'm like, we're gonna get
yes.
weird in this episode, and I'm here for it. Yeah, we're go all the way, Maria. Do not hold back on us.
So if you go along with me and you just like that's what you can ask me some questions about that. But okay, if we're going along with this belief that your soul has lived somewhere else. So for this client, we were able to go back to a time where she was a high priestess because
Hmm.
she knew she came in and she'd had human design readings with like, I know I'm meant to be a spiritual teacher. So what was
Hmm.
beautiful is we were able to go back to this past life to gain wisdom and tap back into those gifts so that we could bring them back. So I call that a
Oh.
sacred gift reclamation. So,
Hmm.
yes, we can go back to a part of our soul to heal, but we can also use it for wisdom. I often do this with clients who really want to tap into speaking and speaking their truth.
Yeah.
While, yes, there might be a timeline where they have to heal a time where that wasn't safe, there's also a time where their soul probably was very activated in their speakership, and
Mm,
we can bring elements of that forward.
right.
So when I'm working with clients, it may be, yes, doing some of the healing and collapsing work. It may also be doing a sacred gift reclamation. Also, I know, like Kristen, we dived into a little bit of this. It might also be, you guys, when we awaken to higher levels of consciousness ourselves, we get to work with, for example, our angels, our spirit guides, our galactic beings. Like, I'm just saying, we get to actually pull this wisdom into the now to
Hmm.
help you channel your body of work, to help you make higher levels of impact. So it's like we can be more proactive in this and directly channel with source and our guides.
Yeah.
So for women who, there are some women who honestly, they maybe just want to come to me for a reading, but the other way I can support soul-led CEOs is I'm not the only one who can channel and have this strong connection. And
Hmm.
so I also have a system and a framework to help women do the healing so that they can remember they are a cosmic channel, so they can strengthen
Mm,
their intuitive channel.
yeah.
Because it's like I'm not the only one tapped in. Each of us can actually be this tapped in when we
Yeah.
do some of the healing and activations.
Yeah. Oh, cool. This is like, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't we wanna do that work? I'm like, yeah, that sounds awesome because we talk about intuition a lot, right? Well, in my world, we do, and the women that I work with, we do, is like there can be all these things that are, logical, strategic, and then you're just like, "No, but my body says no, my intuition says no." Like, I know that that business model could make me 7 figures, but my, like, intuitive knowing is that, like, that's not for me. That's not my way of doing it. So how cool would that be to have, because it's like it's a shortcut a lot of the times to these mistakes that we make, even though nothing's really a mistake, but it's like we may not have to go down some of the weird loop rabbit holes if we had more of this intuitive channel and we could just tap into that.
Yes, yes, because I think, Kristen, I'm sure you can relate, women who are listening can relate. A lot of us probably identify strongly with more of that type A driven, highly ambitious personality. I think it takes that level, right? If you really want to grow and scale a business,
Mhm.
like it takes some of that grit. So many of us are then operating on programs that honestly they have served us, right? Of like being smart, being intentional, let's be strategic, let's work hard. And I would say most of us probably operate, let's say 75% in that field of like, let's go. And then
Yeah.
25%, it's like, okay, yeah, no, like, but I'm soul led. I'm listening to this nudge. Like it's over here on the side, but I don't want to be too woo. Like I think you posted a story some at
Oh
some
my
point,
god, I feel so called out right now. Yeah. This is me
right?
in a
Like
nutshell. Yeah.
it's like, okay, yeah, no, I'm listening to the woo, but like,
Yeah.
75% of the time we're probably operating because it's served us.
Yeah.
And what I really want to let women know who are heart-led, ambitious, highly driven is like it gets to be both. But when
Mhm.
you flip the paradigm on its head and you actually really open your own channel, and you let your higher self lead and it becomes instead of like 75% type A isms,
Mhm.
25% intuition, and you flip it a little bit, it's like, oh no, I want my higher self in the driver's seat. I would
Mhm.
actually like that to be in the driver's seat like 66% of the time. So it's not that there's not a time and place for strategy, thinking smarter, and working strategically, absolutely.
Mhm.
But it's actually honestly like the best hack is to awaken and open your own cosmic channel more. Like you actually then begin to take more of the aligned actions. You're not thought like stuck in some of those thought spirals. And
Yeah.
so there's just a way to embrace both. And like so I'm not like of the like, oh, just like light and love and just sit here and meditate for 24 hours and like somehow my business will just become successful without the
Yeah.
action. Like it definitely takes both.
Yeah, I love that. I totally agree on that. And I think some of my work in this next phase for me is this is okay. I have to just ask you this question. I'm going to take a little because I remember at the retreat, I was talking about something and you were there in the conversation, but I was talking to someone else that was kind of, you were there, but not in it.
Yeah.
And I remember out of the corner of my eye seeing you nod along. And I'm like, oh my gosh, can she like actually see like what this is for me? I was talking about like my lessons, my life lessons that I'm here to like do. And you were like, we're nodding in like acknowledgement, but I'm like, oh, is she like seeing this for me? And then just now I feel so called out by that split around like 75-25. So like, you have to tell me, like, how do you just, can you turn it off? Or is this actually just like you actually seeing what is there for people?
Correct. Yeah, I would like to say, how do I say it? Like, again, thank you for reflecting that back to me, Kristen, because it's just all that I know. And so, yes, when I am in conversation with someone, the channel is just open. This is where it's interesting, actually. I want to point out, like with my clients, with my students, especially women who have been through my intuition mastery program, and then there's a second level where we go deeper into tuning into their psychic gifts and abilities. And all of that is to say that, one, I also really want to I always abide by like spiritual laws of like asking people for consent and permission.
Mhm.
Meaning when I'm doing a reading, right? It's very sacred to me to like, we have a way to be like, do I have permission to channel this for you and get like a direct response?
Yeah.
So that, and a healing in any kind of private session, we're always asking for consent and permission to pull that. Now, with that said, as a woman becomes more deeply connected to her intuitive and psychic channel, there is just a knowing. There is just a way. I mean, it is part of one of my gifts of also just being a speaker or being in conversation with women
Mhm.
that There's a reason why I had never said that concept of what I'd said about like the 75-25 before, but it
Yeah,
came through right now. And so I
right.
always trust that that's also being divinely channeled through me, but not in a way of like, yeah, where I was like trying to tap into you on purpose per se, but
Yeah.
things can just come through to support the highest and greatest good of this conversation even that we're having. So I
Right.
also do like like a prayer before I hop onto anything, even like this podcast recording,
Yeah.
and I ask that for whatever might come through me will support you or whoever's listening to this, or when I do healings and things, it's like for women who are watching this forwards and backwards in time. And so
Mhm.
people can be like, Maria, I watched a recording. I wasn't even there, but I watched your recording replay of XYZ healing. And it
Yeah.
like totally, I felt like you were talking to me. And I'm like, well, that's
Yeah.
because I'm tapped into the records of the experience. And so
Mm.
I am able to tap into consciousness for whatever the room needs.
Yeah. Oh, this is so cool. How, out of curiosity, because I mean, if someone's listening and they're like, yeah, I'd like to develop that more of that for myself. What's your take on the level that everyone could do that at and how long that would take? So obviously you're a master at this. Is there like an element of like natural gifting that some people have or what?
Okay. I love this juicy conversation. And again, you asked me what's really neat, Kristen, is you asked me before we hit record today, like we'd gone over some topics, but then you were like, anything else you want to bring up, Maria? And I'm like, no, like I'm good because I trusted whatever was going to come through. So this question is magical because what I want women to know who are listening right now is I know it sounds like right now I'm a master channeler and I can just tap in and it's easy. But I want you to remember it was only 2 years ago that I had heard about the Akashic Records.
Mhm.
I am naturally a very type A, logic minded person. I
Mhm.
majored in biology. I loved statistician data and numbers growing up and like the research and give me logic and proof. So, one, I just want you to know you can be that and also be where I'm at. And it
Yeah.
doesn't actually have to take long. So, while it took me 7 years of like trying to read the books, trying to listen to the meditations, trying to do like this thing and that thing and all the things, and certainly you can do all the things, but what I will say is, so I actually have a program in higher self mastery. I walk you through a framework because we all have this ability to tap into these levels of consciousness. But the biggest block for many women is subconscious beliefs. Ultimately, you have subconscious programs that are running that like intuition is, it's kind of like BS, right? Like we know
Mhm.
someone in our life at some point who probably said that stuff is bananas, or you
Mhm.
had an experience where you're like, not doing that. It's either too woo for me. Some of us have religious programmings, again, if we have a religious upbringing, that dabbling into our intuitive psychic gifts is somehow evil or maybe just not of the highest light. So, one, it can be subconscious programs.
Yeah.
Number two, many of us who come here to Earth right now have had past negative experiences when you were highly intuitive and psychic. Something bad happened.
Mm.
So I
Mhm.
call it like healing your witch wound.
Yeah.
Or some women have been tied up in like mental asylums in past lives
Mhm.
when they began exhibiting their gifts. Something bad has happened. Ultimately, once I began to see these patterns within myself, I channeled a program, a healing program to help women uncover the subconscious blocks, heal the past life experiences, and then reactivate their intuitive channel. So we are so powerful that we can actually cap our own gifts. So I say
Mhm.
many people are honestly either, let's say, not awake at all, not using their intuitive gifts. Like if you talk to my husband, right? Like he'd be like, what is she talking about? She's absolutely
I
crazy.
love that. I love
Although
that
he
you 2 are
supports
together and he's, like, just,
fully.
like, doesn't get it.
Yeah, it's like so I would say, like, he's like, 0% not using
0.
gifts. And I would say most women are probably at, like, that 25%, like, they're
Mhm.
maybe using a little bit, they're getting some dribbles. I just wanna say it's very possible for us to uncap our own third eye, uncap our own intuitive psychic gifts. And so, for example, the program that I take women through, it's now self-paced because I was like, I don't want it to be behind like a gate of only when it's live. Like I truly, when women are ready to step into a spiritual
Yeah.
initiation with themselves, it's like, okay, this would help you.
Yeah.
So I have women who've gone through it and within 8 weeks, 12 weeks doing the healings, doing updating their subconscious belief program systems, you all said, like, I have women who are like, Maria, I didn't even know I could channel. And now I'm channeling my guides. I'm having deeper insights. I feel like I can actually just journal and connect with my guides and have a conversation with them. So it's very different than, oh, I'm just going to try to figure out signs and symbols. It's like, no, you can actually have a conversation with your guides.
Yeah.
And it's not as hard as people think. And so I guess when you ask the question too, are some women just born naturally with it?
Yeah.
Yes, and meaning we all were born as intuitive psychic channels, but it depended. Did someone foster their level of belief? And was there someone in their life when they were younger that said, like, yeah, anything's possible? Of course, angels are
Mhm.
real. Yes, you are an intuitive channel. It wasn't maybe said that obviously, right? But I do
Yeah.
know some women who really had someone in their life who like opened that door for them and it got to stay open. There's many of us who tend to be type A driven. I would say the message that was driven home to me as a young girl was like, "Come on, work smarter. Okay, gotta do more. Oh,
Yeah.
Maria, use your head. Why weren't you thinking there? What were you not thinking about?" So quickly, then in our upbringing, I learned to quiet my intuitive gifts, quite frankly,
Mhm.
turn them down, turn them off, and really heavily leaned into I gotta be smarter. I gotta
Yeah.
do more. That is how I bring value on this earth. And
Right.
so it's yeah, I don't actually believe that, like, some people are just more gifted. I just think, though, if you were fostered and mentored and developed
Mhm.
versus told to, like, kind of shut that down on some
Yeah.
level.
Yeah, so his level of openness really, and then what you're saying too is like we all come in with different past life experiences as well. So it could actually be the shutting down in a past life, not even this one, that
Yes,
is impacting that level. Yeah, of
yes.
intuition.
Yes, and I wanna speak to because again, it's like it's funny, but it's like I can almost hear people be like, they keep talking about this past lives thing, like they want us
Yeah.
to believe it. Okay, I wanna just give some examples, and I also wanna, like, honor everybody's experience who's listening to this. You can walk away from this, and you don't even have to subscribe to that belief, but for those of you who hear it and you're curious, I invite you so past lives and a way that I began to I mean, like I said, now it's just, like, in my head, and I see past lives like movies, and they're just right
Mhm.
there. But early on you can think of it like how certain people can have deep-seated fears in this life that make no sense.
Mhm.
So, there I know people who like they have a huge fear of heights, even though they had never been on a plane before or there was never a negative experience about it. I
Yeah.
know women who have a deep fear of water and the ocean, although they're like, it doesn't make sense because, like, they can remember a past positive experience where they got to go to like anytime where it feels like something doesn't make sense, but
Mhm.
I have a strong fear of, or I have women who are like, I don't know why, but I'm feeling called, like I need to play the piano. And they never played piano all their life. This was a recent CEO who I did a reading with. And I was like, your guides are saying to tap back into your channel, you need to be playing the piano. And she's like, that's so weird because I never took lessons growing up. Now she's like plunking around on her piano, taking lessons. And she's like, Maria, I feel like I'm at home when I'm playing the piano. And as soon as she says that, I can see a past version of her playing the piano and being like an amazing pianist from a past life. There's a
Wow.
reason why she feels so connected to it, despite the fact that she never played piano as a child. So
Yeah.
those are like little sometimes nudges of like, oh, I do wonder if my soul has perhaps had other experiences. And
Yeah.
then also tune into your imagination. There's a reason why your imagination is different than my imagination, right? Like,
Mhm.
why is it when I'm in like maybe imagination daydream time or whatever, when we land in that, it's like, why am I creating these experiences, but your mind's creating these? Or why does my husband dream about XYZ, but I dream about
Dreams are
ABC?
like my place, is like that's where I really tap in. So and
Yes.
it's not often, but it's like when it happens, it's like, cool. Like I know that was
Yes.
like a soul moment. Yeah.
Yes, and so those are just examples of there's a reason why when we drop into these different states of being and consciousness that your experience is different than mine because oftentimes we are astral traveling, we are traveling to a different timeline. But the ego for the ego, that's like too much. So it just says
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that was just a daydream," or
Right.
"Oh, that was just a dream." Like I don't think that really happened, but we all know we've had a dream where you wake up and you're like, "I think that's happened.
Yeah.
It's happened." You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
there's a reason.
I've had so many that are like, I know, not so many, sorry. I've had 2 that have been like major closure like things where it's like a relationship that needed closure and it happened in the dream. And then the weirdest things would happen in physical form. So then the next day, this is like a past ex of mine, met in a dream, had this beautiful conversation, everyone was fine. And then the next day, I see on my LinkedIn that he's looked at my profile. Isn't that bizarre? Like, these are the things, and it's like, because I imagine he probably, whether he had the dream or something, but he had something that nudged him
Nudged
to look
him.
out to me. Yeah, reach out to look
Yes.
for me. Yeah.
Yes, you guys, we are doing our souls are doing so much during dream time. Like, yes, usually in that first 90-minute REM cycle, usually that's just honestly our mind like working through kind of like the day's stuff and like what are we keeping, what are we going. But once you get to that second REM cycle, once we start usually, and so that's why people will sometimes wake up around that 2, 3 a.m. time, because that's
Mhm.
after that second REM and be like, oh my God, I think I just had like the wildest dream
Yeah.
because it's around that time that our soul begins to, as I call it, like astral travel. Like you
Yeah.
might be actually traveling to other timelines. You might be working something out with someone else's higher selves. We get to do so much of that just in dream time. And I know people say, like, well, I don't remember my dreams, Maria, or I don't think I've ever had that experience. I want you to know, to be honest, whether you're aware of it or not, your soul's doing it,
Yeah.
doing the work.
Oh, this is such a good conversation, and I'm looking at the time, but I wanna this is gonna be such a cliffhanger because I wanna introduce this topic, and then I want people to let us know if they want you to come back for a round 2 on it, because I know we're not gonna be able to get into it in the time that we have left. I'm really curious about it too, because this is an area that personally I actually have not explored at all in terms of what's available there. And so, one of the areas you specialize in is channeling your legacy through our galactic families. Tell us what the fuck you mean when you say that.
Oh boy, we're really going into it, aren't we, Kristen?
Yeah.
Okay, let me try to be as simply as possible. When we tap into higher levels of consciousness, the other side, spirit guides, whatever you want to call it. Well, what I want you to know is that there are different guides that we can tap into. It's why some people maybe feel more called to, some people have more of an angelic presence about them. They maybe have a stronger connection to their angels. We all have angels. For some, it's like when they drop in, they're maybe tapping into spirit guides of past loved ones.
Mm,
So another type of guide is our cosmic galactic beings. And it's like, well, what the heck does that mean? So, quite simply, Earth is not the only place where our soul is being expressed. And we should know by now, like, science continues to like catch up to things, but I mean, we know that the cosmos is huge. Other planets, other galaxies. And so this term star seed has been thrown around, and again, I think sometimes, like, I don't know, it can be like almost like a movie Hollywood version of like, what's a star seed? But at the end of
mhm,
the day, it's a soul where Earth is not your home planet. You have actually incarnated on other planets. And it's also another way and why we're able to tap into intuitive psychic gifts, because we're actually existing in other spaces and times and places. And we know how to access these higher levels of consciousness, because on other planets, quite frankly, we're just a little bit behind here, just meaning they actually just talk to each other telepathically, psychically.
mm,
There's no need for like verbal communication on some of these other planets just because that's how they've evolved.
yeah.
So, with that, what I like to do is tap into people's galactic or starseed family of origin. Ultimately, where did your soul originate? When we do that, you can work with that galactic being, that galactic family, to help determine, channel through your legacy, your body of work. And it becomes a lot less hard. It becomes a lot less, oh, okay, I got to think of like the next right thing, or I got to get this right. I want to make sure I'm known for the right thing. Well, for
Mhm.
me, when I really sit with myself, I channel with my Starseed Galactic family, which is the Lyrans. Again, I know we're opening a can of worms here, but we can always come back.
That's all good, yeah.
But I just want you to know is that it becomes like my mission is so much bigger than me. So when human
Mhm,
Maria starts to feel like I can't hold this all, or I
mhm.
don't know the next right step because my ego doesn't want to fail,
Yeah,
I use my own tools. I drop into my heart and I remember, oh, yeah, I have my galactic family along with my other guides to help me just channel the body of work that's coming through. It's not a
yeah.
matter of being right. It's actually just remembering this is what my soul came here to do. And I'm
Mhm.
not alone in this work.
Yeah. Oh, this is so freaking juicy.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much here that we could explore, and I think you well, I'm curious to know for you is like, why do you choose to work with people in this way rather, because say something like working with your angel guides or like working with, yeah, like past, people that's, I think, more common, I guess, maybe.
Yes.
So why do you choose to bring this piece in? What do you find is more juicy about it?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a okay, I love this question, Kristen, because it's another example of if it was up to my ego self, one could say it was a choice, right? Like, oh, do I want to like help people connect to their angels? Do I want to help them connect to, I call them elementals, but like some people feel really drawn to nature,
Mhm,
earth, working with Gaia and like the planet Earth. But it wasn't ever a choice,
mhm,
meaning the second I tapped back into who I am as a soul, I knew that my work here is to help awaken more humans, but specifically, yes, I love working with female soul-led CEOs, help women access higher levels of consciousness. And
mhm,
one of the fastest ways for me to do that is to tap them back into one, their intuitive channel, but two, their cosmic galactic beings.
mhm.
So it wasn't, I don't know how to say it. Yeah, like, you know
Yeah,
what
I
I
get
mean?
it.
It wasn't like my ego got to choose because I'm not gonna lie, like, I love working with the planet, Gaia, spirit animals. I find that all really cool.
Yeah.
But that's where I will say we each came here with a unique soul expression, mission, and a contract with
Mhm,
which maybe galactic beings and guides are going to help us channel through our body of work. That doesn't mean, here's what's really interesting. And I know it's like, again, opening a door, but I just want you to know, for example, when I had to do more inner child healing and how to be a better mother and a parent, I tapped into different guides. I tapped into more ascended masters, working with Buddha, working with. So, for example, for a different layer of what my soul is doing, I
mhm.
tap into a different set of guides, but
Right.
it's all intuitively led versus a choice. And I think
Mhm,
that's why it's interesting because when I get to work with other CEOs, we may find you're channeling your galactic beings for your body of work, but also maybe you're meant to work with Archangel Gabriel
mhm.
for, I don't know, something that you're trying to open and heal your heart to find love. So I
Right.
also want to convey within the work, we'll always work with the guide that comes forward
Mhm.
that's meant to help that person with whatever goal or outcome they're wanting to work on.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And then that's really the link back to how we started the conversation around how you're using this to support specifically soul-led CEOs create in the present the results that they're looking for. So it's like, what are the tools I hear you saying that are available to each person that's going to support their highest outcome in this particular lifetime and form?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and I think that's also where, so women, once, if you know, if you're just curious, if you're like, oh my gosh, this conversation, right? But ultimately that's where, and I like to honor where every soul is at, and so the tools can be different, but sometimes someone just needs to come to me for a reading, like, right, they
Mhm.
kind of want just like, I just need some direct clarity, confirmation and affirmation that like I'm on the right track, whether it's in my business or something's going on with their life, like, for, you know, you
Yeah.
have a pattern that had been showing up. So it's like almost like that can sometimes be that initial layer of just like
Yeah.
getting clarity and seeing discernment. Next, then it's like I think the next layer is I do love helping women activate and tune into their channel because I never wanted to be the person who was like, come to me for the readings. I want a full calendar all the time of just doing soul readings. Meaning it's like I'm not the only channel. I want to help them access
Yeah.
their channel. I want to help them awaken higher levels of
Well, that sounds
consciousness.
like your mission, right? You were talking about like access
Yes.
higher levels of consciousness. Yeah.
That's why I'm here. And then certainly for the women who it's like, really, when we go to our edges and we're really growing and scaling our legacy and our mission, that's where certainly a woman might come to me then for more of that strategic, pinpointed, individualized work
Mhm.
of, do we need to collapse and heal something that's like impacting you now? Do we need to reclaim a gift that you can use now? And we can do some of that finer work. And then I also, you know, I have a membership of just, I think we can overcomplicate it of like, you know, in anything, but we can overcomplicate like, oh, should I be doing this thing or should I be doing the sound bath? Should I be doing this meditation or whatever?
I
And
know,
so
then you end up with
honestly,
your, like, self-care routine that takes, like, 10 hours.
yes, yes, and you're just more confused of like, what
Yeah,
should I be doing? So
yeah.
at the end of the day, I just created like a living, breathing spiritual hub for women who are on a spiritual growth journey and you just want that accountability, you want practices delivered, you want some of that sisterhood and support. That is something, another container that I created that's just meant to be this space where women can land
Yeah.
when you're anywhere on your spiritual growth journey.
I love that because as you said, it's like different for everybody and it doesn't happen at convenient times where you're like, "Oh, I can wait for 3 months for this to open up." Like when you're
Yes,
in it, you're like need the help like now. So, yeah, I love that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
for those of you that are listening and you're like, this is super interesting, let us know if you want round two with Maria. We'll have her back and we can get more into the galactic families and how to use those and what that's all about. But Maria, before we wrap, I always ask guests, and I'm so curious to hear your answer to this. What does being a soul led CEO mean to you?
Being a soul led CEO for me means that I am anchoring into my higher self in the driver's seat of my business. So at any time, and again, I'm type A, like that was my programming that I came into this world with. Anytime I can sense that my own ego, my own humanness is gripping for control, like she's literally trying to take back the driver's seat, like, wait, hold on a second, let me plan this out a little bit more. So really, soul-led CEO means that in those times, I have the awareness to notice, express compassion to that aspect of myself, and allow my higher self back into the driver's seat, remembering
Mhm.
that this business was never just about making money, checking off a box, another accomplishment on my list, great. Like I can accomplish things, but it was about working with my higher soul self to channel a body of work through. And as long as
Mhm.
I can continue to anchor in that, it's what keeps me going. It's what like keeps me hungry in this drive to
Yeah.
help more people awaken and activate their higher levels of consciousness so they can channel their body of work.
Oh, it's beautiful. I love that. I love that definition. And I love your work in the world and what you do. And I'm so grateful to be in community with you and to be able to have these conversations. So, thank you for being here. We're going to link all of your information in the show notes. But is there somewhere in particular that if anyone's listening to this conversation, they're like, I need to go learn more, where would you direct them?
Yeah. They can head to higherselfawakening.com or come say hello on my Instagram page. I recently, again, it was kind of a channeled soul led thing, but if you go, and she'll have it down below, but at maria.christine, it's really interesting. But since I know that like books are coming in different pieces of my body of work,
Hmm.
while I love my married name, which is Maria Serbus, I
Hmm.
was specifically guided that I'm going to be authoring and penning things under this other name. So it's why when you go search for me and find me, you'll find Maria.Christine. And so there was a reason behind that. And
Yeah.
I just trust the soul guidance on that. But yeah, just come say hello on Instagram or head to higherselfawakening.com to learn more.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone who shared in listening to this episode with us. I told you it was going to be a good one. It was going to get weird and Maria delivered. And if you love this episode, please let us know, hit follow, subscribe, and consider leaving a review. And let us know if you want Maria back for a second episode so we can deepen this conversation. So thanks again for joining us, and I'll see you in the next episode.